go. Nice.
Squadrons call on the horizon. Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn. Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Brotherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebulous light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses cross.
Hello, hello, hello. Greetings and welcome to the Soul Citizens. I am GriffinGamingRPG. Today is Sunday, July the 19th, and I am joined by my good friend, co-producer, the one and the only SeriousFun. How are you, my friend?
I'm trying to figure out why we're on so early.
We're finally on. Oh my God. Thank you all so much for your patience. We switched over to a
Yes.
new streaming software, and today was the day. I thought I had it all in place. It's not Serious's fault, it's mine. I thought we had it in place, but it was not cooperating. But we finally figured it out together, and so we are here with you. So I guess this means we have to cut 30 minutes off of our time now. Because we're
Yep.
starting
No more.
30
No
minutes
lore.
late.
No lore tonight. No, I'm just kidding. First of all, let's back all the way up. I like to begin and end in gratitude. So I'm thankful that you run the show at all. Let's just be clear. And if we need to figure out a new studio system and a new piece of software, we figure it out, and here we go, and we're here now. So let's do it.
Yeah, we are. Well, we're here, and we've got some of our folks here who've been patiently waiting for us in line. So we want to say thank you guys for just hanging in there with us today, as we've been going in and out with video. To Vaverick, Coffee Gaming's out there, Jade is out there, Daz, good to see you, Panzer. I don't want to miss any folks. Pops in Space is out there. Let's see. New Soul Sounds is here. Serious, I see you're already here. I know FC is out there hanging out. I think I saw Shimpasta in here as well. So thank you guys. Sandgroper, yes, it's alive. Yes, we are alive. The Prisoner, good to see you as well. Thank you all again for hanging in here. Paglamia, good to see you. Hope you guys are doing well. So we're going to jump into it because we're already running a little late. We want to get right into the show for this week. And let's talk about some of the stuff that has been happening in Star Citizen Serious. Let's see what we got first up. The Goldsmith store bundle. You and I talked about this a little bit, and it's been interesting to hear what people have had to say about this. Look your best in black and gold filigree, whether mingling at a sophisticated cocktail party or fighting through the grimy halls of an abandoned space station. This includes a Bellator armored dress suit, a Bearing CQ-7 rifle, that's the new bullpup, and Goldsmith paint for your Mirai Fury series. Blending cutting-edge technology and precise measurements, the Bellator armored dress suit provides light combat protection thanks to intricate graphene weaving, while the Bearing CQ-7 is a next-generation bullpup rifle built for those close-quarter engagements, such as boarding actions. The Goldsmith bundle is already delivered in 4.9. All right, what say you, Serious? Let me go ahead and let you get your say out. What do you got to say about this?
So I have, against my better judgment, because I don't like incentivizing CIG for these bundles, because most of these, I want the armor and the weapon,
Okay.
but I don't necessarily want the ship paint in most cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like when they put the bundle together and then later on break it out and give you pieces like they did with the Red Alert ones and the other ones that they did in the
Mm.
past.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not doing that here, and I've been buying them anyway because I'm part of the problem, right? And
Okay.
I've liked almost all of them, right? So
Okay.
I buy them, I melt them, so I have them in my buybacks. Even though
Okay.
I know we
Mm-hmm.
all need to remember that
Mm-hmm.
buybacks is not a bank,
Yeah.
right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not our storage.
Mm-hmm.
It can go at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I looked at this one, and even though I do like that the background of the image is evocative of that Mirai Guardian image that we got before and that video that we got before, I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Fastcart that pointed that out during the week. Uh, I didn't buy this one,
Okay.
and I'm not going to buy this one. And the
Okay.
reason is because I wouldn't wear that suit.
Okay.
That filigree on the suit takes it over the top. It takes it into some other territory for me that's a little bit more Fred Williamson, 1970s, Jim Brown, Pam Grier territory than it
Wow.
does
Oh
than
my
it does
God.
John Wick
Uh-huh.
and Agent 47 or something like that. So
Mm.
I was
Mm.
like, it's too far. And I'm not hearing, I'm hearing different things about the bullpup
Mm.
CQ7. I'm
Mm.
hearing some people who think it's okay. I heard some people say it's okay. I've heard other people say it needs balancing and tweaking.
Mm.
So it's like now you got two things that I'm not enthusiastic about, and I don't have a Mariah Fury, and that was strike three. So it was, I was out. You know what I mean? What about you?
Well, I'm actually laughing at Square Two's reference to "I'm gonna get you, sucker," where he says "over gold" in this
Over gold.
piece. Yeah, over gold. Um, I had mixed feelings about it. Any black and gold is something I love in general. But I will say a couple things. Let's go. I'll go one by one for you, with you. Let's talk about the suit first. They just put out these new suits, right? These clothings that are armored, and the ones that they actually did put in the game, you can get them over at Macau, over at Orison, are very streamlined and nice. They are the John Wick suit, right? They're nice. They've got the vest, the jacket. You don't have to wear the vest and jacket if you don't want to, which is nice. This it's too much. That's the problem with it.
Hmm.
I would have loved it if they had just streamlined the jacket in gold trim on the lapel and then made the vest decorative, or vice versa. But both of them are yelling way too much, and
Yeah.
so it gets to be a bit too convoluted. And I think I know that some people might be feeling a certain kind of way because CIG has been doing this with the concierge stuff. They've been getting this. They started out with the executive armor back in the day, which was also, for a lot of people didn't like it because they felt like it was bragging or it was just too. Nobody would walk around with all that reflective gold on them in an armored suit. And then they came out with that black and gold. They did a couple of them, right? That have been black and gold. It's just that
Yeah, the
it's just,
Chairman's Club,
yeah, the Chairman's Club is what I
armor.
meant to say. Yeah, the Chairman's Club, not concierge Chairman's Club. So it's
But they
it's
also did the executive undersuit and the executive armor. You got them both right. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
all of
the
that.
original one, yeah. And there's sometimes there's less is more for certain things, particularly when it comes down to elegance and style, right? There's a thing that's screaming, it's like the person who wears a 5 carat diamond ring, but they ain't got no money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It ain't real. So
Or the
sometimes
quality of the ring is
the
whack,
quality's
right?
not that great, right? Exactly. So it's a matter of balance. I think that's my issue with this. The gun is the same way. It's like a little too ornate, unless you're designing it to be ornate. And don't get me wrong, I've seen some guns that are have very imaginative scroll work on them and handles and all this other stuff. But because the suit is so over the top, then the gun is over the top. It's just too much. So, you know, you can pull back and there's ways to make something look elegant and stylish without just it's all over. If you look at the jacket right now, it's like everything is just all over on that. Then on top of that, not to pick on anybody with tattoos, he's got tattoos and stuff going all the way up to the sides of his face. It's like, how much ornamentation does this guy have to walk around with in the game? So it's like a little bit too much, but I'm going to buy it. Because I like black and gold.
God.
But
You
I
said
like
all
black
that?
and gold. I like black and gold, so I'm going to get it. Now, I will
That's
say,
hilarious.
I have not seen what the detail is on the Fury, and so I'm a little hesitant. I also, you know, we've talked about this before. Should CIG sell things into, you know, separately outside of the
Yeah.
bundle, right? And you know, again, I've heard so many backers who have said, "Oh, if it was sold separate, I would buy it." But at the same time, it's got to be like their analytics or marketing says otherwise. It says that they're making more money selling it in bundles. I don't know. It's a weird paradox to me.
Oh, I'm sure they're making more money in bundles, and I've been like I said, I've been part of the problem
Yeah,
with
yeah,
these other
maybe so.
bundles,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was running around in my Gideon bundle steady and regular.
Yeah. I love your John Whack there. I'm just it's funny. John Whack. That is
But when
funny.
they say this is for mingling
whack.
at a sophisticated, they say this is for mingling at a sophisticated cocktail party. I'm like, no, it ain't.
No, it ain't. Yeah, right. You know. Now I will say this. I was watching another COD podcast and they were talking about would there have been a better ship to assign this to, and they were saying that they made suggestions of like the P-72, or they made the suggestion of the even the X-85, right? But I kind of looked at this a little bit I tried to look at the whole picture and not just the suit and the ship. And what I meant by that is that this person is at ArcCorp and they're moving about in a ship that is fast and does not need a quantum drive, right, to get from one location to another. So I kind of looked at it from a couple perspectives. If this person was like in ArcCorp and moving from one building to another, very small, you know, profile, everything else. And don't get me wrong, I think that the P-72 and the X-85 may have been a better one, but it didn't bother me that much because I just looked at it as this person's not flying in space dressed in a suit. You know what I mean? They're going to stay in atmospheric flight. Going from place to place. They're just staying on the planet. So I tried to look at it from the context of like maybe they were coming from, you know, another part of Area 18 and they're coming to do this assignment or whatever. The thing that is weird about this image, though, is that if you look at the two bodies that are on the ground, they are fully armored folk. They're not folks dressed in casual clothing. So it was kind of like, okay, you're coming to fight a bunch of armored guys in your armored suit. That just kind of freaked me out a little bit. So anyway.
I mean, the Fury made sense to me because they just dropped and they just shipped the T-Louis, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, this is a season of snub fighters, snub fighter carriers. Okay, you know,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't show off the filigree the way some other panels on some other ships might, to your point. I think the Kruger ships, all of them actually, not just the snub fighters, would show this off a little bit better. But I get why they did it. There's a lot of Furies out there, you know. But it was just over the top for me, and once they had two strikes, it was going to be hard for them to recover.
Oh yeah, for the third. Yeah, I get it. Jade, I wanted to tell you too. I'm glad you said that because I was talking to someone about this the other day, and what I would really love for us to do is figure out a way to make some type of not petition, and I don't know what to do, but I want to come up with something that we bring to CIG, and I mean literally bring to CIG, if you know what I mean, and say, hey, you know, all we got to do is just look at the analytics, right? It's like out of all these things that have come out, out of all of them that have come, no. Jade, you're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm talking about take it to CIG, not doing what we're talking about in the past. I'm saying that we have enough evidence from all of these armors and all these bundles. There hasn't been one that has been focused on women in the game. So I think the argument is very strong. You know, it'd be different if we could say, oh, well, they did 2 or 3 of them. They've done absolutely none in these bundles, in these special armors, or anything. So I'm saying, let's do something. You know what I mean? That will go. What do you mean? Who will take it? I'm going over there, so I'm gonna take it. So let's figure out something to take it, because I'm going to talk to folks.
Maybe it's a September show where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly around what's been done, what's available now.
Yeah.
You know, there's always new people to the game. So
yeah. I mean, I think I'm saying there's a strong argument for it. That's all I'm saying. There's all the evidence is there. We can go through each one of these bundles and look at them and say, hey, come on, you guys didn't put out one thing that had something for women, because everything that here is it's quote unquote unisex, but it's not really unisex. So we need to push that, is my point. Because I was talking to somebody about that the other day, saying they need to change this up some. But okay, let's move on, because like I said, we're running a little late, so I don't want to belabor that, but I do want to address that. Gray's Market Basher. This video isn't long. Let's take a quick look at it and we can talk about it.
When we introduced the Gray's Market Shiv last year, it was an interesting time to be able to bring that sort of junker aesthetic into the Star Citizen universe.
It really embodied a style of art called kit bashing and brought it to you guys, the players.
You can approach it in different ways than other manufacturers, so you don't need to adhere to all the typical rules.
I like that we get this opportunity to make these ships that aren't pristine and neat and tidy.
And we're proud to introduce the new addition from Gray's Market, the Basher. Basher is a light fighter, and it prioritizes guns over literally absolutely everything else.
The light fighter is really fun because they're far more maneuverable than the higher fighters in the class.
It's meant for quite close dogfight, especially in close combat ranges.
And this one's particularly well gunned as well, so it's going to give you a lot of firepower.
It's got its 6 size 2 weapons and its 2 missile launchers.
And whilst they are new weapons, they are not bespoke or unique to the ship. You can swap them with other weapons of the same size. On paper, something like this is a challenge to balance. On the first read, you go six guns, that's a lot. They are size 2, so they're not the most powerful guns in the game, but they are perfectly capable of taking on other fighters and dealing damage. But the big consideration with this ship is the size of it. It is significantly smaller than any of the other light fighters in the game.
It's a real trade-off between being a very small compact fighter, which is very hard to hit, but also it's quite very low durability compared to all other ships in the class. You need to be very aware of your piloting skill, and you need to be very conscious about all the threats surrounding you, because as soon as you get hit, you're gonna feel it.
The overall aesthetic, as with all of our Gray's ships, it's got this really interesting cobbled together aesthetic to it that makes it very different from the rest of our ships.
So the first thing you're really going to notice on the exterior of the Basher is just how big the engines are in comparison to the kind of like the rest of the body. We wanted the cockpit and the engines to be sat quite far back, and we kind of wanted this almost sort of like hot roddy kind of feel to the vehicle.
You'll see a lot of parts taken or inspired by other ships in the game, and you'll see a lot of Drake parts, Buccaneer parts. There's a bit of the Gladius in there, there's a bit of the Aurora in there.
There's a bit of the Avenger in there too, isn't there?
Yeah, there's all sorts in there. And a few other little surprise pieces.
So when you're working on a ship like this that's got so many different things bodged together, the biggest challenge is what we would call resolving forms. Everything is a sharp edge and everything is like an afterthought.
You walk around and it's a bunch of stacked bits of metal, barely put together. The weapon rack is just a broken fence, and the personal storage is like a filing cabinet welded into the ship.
If it looks bodged, it is. And over everywhere, you're going to see cables, you're going to see bits of metal bolted on, rust, all that character that we talked about with what makes this manufacturer so special from an artistic standpoint.
The enter and exit animations are sort of a byproduct of how we build our ships. For a lot of ships we use templated animations, so a lot of the touch points that you use and the position your character moves is shared between a lot of ships. Occasionally we do new animations, such as on the Wharf. But for this one we used the Merlin enter exit. And we couldn't quite get the character to climb and maneuver over the ship, so we thought, what's a great way that we can integrate this?
This was solved by just cutting a hole in the wing. Maybe it's from a past explosion or fight. Maybe it's from a ship that they already took and was already damaged. We used like different bits of rebar instead of ladders. It's just a fun take on something we've done before.
I think the cockpit is probably one of my favourite parts of Basher.
The game is unlike anything else we have in the game.
Someone's kind of built this just out of parts. It's not built to be safe.
I like to think of it as like a rally car in a sense. Like it has this kind of mesh wire that's got holes cut in it, almost like they couldn't find a complete bit of mesh that was going to fit the window.
The dashboard on the Basher is very similar to old Drake ships. Everything lights up in different states. So when you turn the ship on, it doesn't just turn on like another ship. There's definitely wiring problems.
It doesn't feel like somewhere you would want to be in a crisis, but you know, you're the person driving into the crisis.
The other big defining part of the cockpit kind of experience and cockpit view is obviously the crane.
It makes the silhouette so interesting and so different that it's a real unique piece to the ship.
This lines up perfectly with the reticle, so it helps with aiming.
And then obviously, if you find you're kind of in combat and that's becoming slightly distracting, you know, you can jump into the front camera and get like a real good zoomed in view as well. So on launch, the ship doesn't come with any kind of cosmetic kits other than the crane, which comes as standard, which you're able to kind of remove if you so wish. But we do hope to explore more cosmetic kits. It gives more options to our players for visual upgrades, and I think it's a really kind of nice and exciting thing to be able to do. The paints for the Basher are kind of what you would expect if you're familiar with the ship's paints.
Some of the things like the default paints as well as the floral pattern and skull.
What we wanted to try and do with the Grey's Market vehicles is give them quite a strong brand identity on top of the visual style we've already established.
Very happy with this ship. It's been great to see it come to fruition.
I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a really, I don't want to say cute, because it's definitely not a cute ship, unique ship.
I think it adds a new dimension to the combat experience in game, and I think people will have a lot of fun flying this.
Yeah, I know she said junker instead of jalopy.
I did say junker instead of jalopy intentionally.
No, I wouldn't call these jalopies. A jalopy to me is a very specific sort of beetle.
You can stop talking.
I feel like jalopy has a negative kind of connotations with it, and I'm not sure I'm on board with that. I think it's more a junker, I think, rather than a jalopy.
This is me banging my head on the microphone. I need you to say it's a jalopy.
No, I don't think it's a jalopy.
I can't help but just think of like pizza when I think of jalopy. If we ever make a round ship that like has like sections that can like separate off and fly away, then we can call it the jalopy. Okay.
Okay. Give me your thoughts, Serious.
Well, he ain't getting jalopy. Clearly, they're against it. But I can tell you that I have several thoughts about the Basher. One is, that's why you get in the game and see some of these things, because you don't really feel how small and agile it is until you get in front of it and get in it and fly it.
Yeah.
And the strength of the subscription model, I save up pieces of store credit here, pieces of store credit there, and every year I throw an annual subscription to CIG so I can just not worry about it. But the strength of that is you get these debuted ships for a few days when they drop. And so I was able to jump right into Basher, and I liked it a lot, except for the fact that that it reminded me of the Reapers from Serenity and Firefly. And those things are like the Boogeyman Come Alive. Those things are like campfire stories made real. And so I would fear a bunch of shivs and bashers coming at me because I think they're gonna drag me off and eat my liver or whatever. But I was in the right. The first time I got in there, I was in the wrong outfit. I was in a regular jumpsuit and armor, and the acceleration knocked me out immediately. I had to bring it right back down and get in the right flight suit. Really
I don't know who.
Shit.
I don't know who it was I watched, but somebody said that thing pulls out at 20 G's. That's what somebody said.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun. I thought that this was, when they talked about kit bashing, I thought that this was an even more fun example of that than the Shiv was. And it's super small. It's super small. Light Fighter is about real skill because you make one mistake and that's that. So,
yeah.
What did you think?
Like you, I was not a big Grays basher. I mean, put aside my goofiness about Origin and stuff. I mean, if I'm just analyzing the ship in general, the Grays market ships have been very popular with a lot of people in this game. The Shiv was very popular with folks, and when this one came out, we really didn't know what this was going to be. As you know, a lot of folks were thinking it was something leaked back to the 2019 CIG video that came out. It was one of those, possibly an Aurora-based or Mustang-based ship. But this was something that I think no one was really seeing coming. We saw it in the little newspaper screen when we were doing the testing in the PTU, and we had a little image of it, what was there, but it still didn't really reveal what this thing was.
A word on the street is that one of the way back Squadron 42 videos where it was just ship silhouette type stuff, this is on there.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Well,
we still didn't know what it was going to be, but it was on there.
It was on there, though, the silhouette. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like you, when it came out, I knew I had subscribers, so let me take a look at it and see what it looked like. I remember when it came up, because I have an extra large hangar, when it came up, I had to squint and say, is it out there?
Yeah, right.
It's so small.
You look out there, did something come up?
Yeah, I'm thinking something, Shiv size was going to come up. And I'm looking and you're running, and this thing is like Pisces sized almost, and it's like, oh my God. But I will say, as far as design, and I'm talking about imagination, it's amazing to me. As far as imagination goes, I mean, the kit bashing's one thing, because it's different if you could. It's not like you can look at it and see the Aurora and see the this and see the that. You know what I mean? You have to look for it. And when you look for it, you see it, which is great to me, because I don't want to see something where it's obvious this is a this and obvious this is a that, right? So everything from the fact that not only do they use those parts from different ships, but they do a wear and tear look to them. There's broken metal, there's, fencing, and the gun rack is a fence, right? I mean, there's all these weird little things. And I love the imaginative thing they did with when you want to get into the ship, because the animation, they didn't have to create a brand new, performance for that. So they cut a hole in the side of the ship like it was damaged, and you climb up the hole, right? I mean, it was really a cool way to do something like that. The metal wiring on the windows, you got to look twice, because you say, does this thing have glass in it? Which it does. But, when you look at it, it's like, there's no windows in this thing.
You gotta look close. You gotta
look really close. Right. So it's I think from an imagination standpoint, it locks into the whole Grays market thing. I'm curious to see other ships that come out. There was one thing on here I made a comment about, and somebody, I think it was Togi, he told me, because I noticed that there was a harpoon on the front. And I said, I wonder if they're setting this thing up for me doing something maybe with the whales, like a piracy type of thing or something. And he said, no, it's just cosmetic. It's on the shiv too. And I never analyzed the shiv. So if it is on the shiv or if it's on one of those kits, I forgot about the kits that they came up with. But when I went back and looked at the ship, when I went back and looked at the ship later, though, I noticed that there is a mechanism tied to that thing. If you look at it and go down the body, you can see where there is a wheel that has like a cable that's tied to it, I guess, so that if the thing were shot out. Now, it may be just cosmetic, and they did say these kits were cosmetic, but I would love that because it was funny that they said it has a surprise on it. And when they said it has a surprise, they looked at the front part of the ship. So I'm wondering, okay, so what's the surprise? So I'm wondering if the harpoon really will be something later that becomes active in some way or other. Maybe not, maybe. But as far as performance of this ship goes, get outside of aesthetics, this thing was pretty cool to fly. I took it out and flew around R-Corp and shot through buildings and stuff and everything, and it was moving. Unlike you, though, I was in just a flight suit, so I didn't have the problem with the G's. But it handled really, really nice for light fighter. I'm not a big light fighter person, but this was fun to fly. Didn't take it out on any missions yet. Haven't done anything like that to see what it's like. But the other thing I think that I think people miss out with on CIG is that we've been so used to ships like the Arrow that have been pretty formidable as light fighters, and what's the thing called, the Aegis Gladius. But I think that there's another dynamic that CIG wants about these light fighters, and I think a lot of it is going to be more of the fact that they're utilized not as solo instruments but as actually collaborative instruments. And so when you start looking at like the ships like the Asperias, what are those things called? The little
Talons.
The Talons, that they want these ships to be going out where you go out in groups of these things, right? Not just the person who wants to go out with this one ship and do all this major damage, because this whole thing with alpha damage and armor all is a factor. But I think that the intent for these things is going to be that they're used in groups, and especially how many of these can you put on a ship? You know what I mean? These are very small, right? We looked at like when the Furies came out, we felt that way, right? Same thing with the Pit Bull. So I really want to see how players, what they come up with in making these ships become really effective in the game. At least that's the direction that I'm kind of leaning into with that. So, $100 bucks.
The last thing I'll say real quick is, the furor that kicked in when they dropped the wolf and they dropped that fin on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I think they learned from that with this.
It was smart. The crane.
The crane in that it's on there. They think it's cool. They think it's fun. They think it gives this thing a unique look. It has a kind of functionality with the iron sight claim, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, you can just take it off.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? I'm still on this thing with CIG. In the past, they usually have been pretty serious about if something's there, it's functional. And I'm a little nervous about them when they start talking about these cosmetic kits, because I want their kits to have functionality to them. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. It's nice if you just want to pay something cosmetic because you want something that looks distinct and different from someone else. But I would also love that crane actually has a function. If they come up with other attachments, that they're meaningful, right? Other than just cosmetics. I mean, cosmetics is fine. A lot of people, we buy stuff for cosmetics all the time. But I hope that they stick with the fact that they keep these things functional. What did you think about the pricing? I think the Shiv is $150, something like that, $140, $150. This is $100, $110, something like that.
Yeah,
how are you feeling about it? Yeah, I did too.
High.
Yeah, I thought this would have been better in the like 90 area, the Gladius
90,
range, Arrow 80, 90, 85, something like that.
Especially when I saw how big it is,
Yeah.
I think it needed to be a little bit more substantive to be in that 100. You're starting to get up near the Avenger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you passed the Avenger. You're past the Gladius on this thing.
Well,
the Avenger's only $60. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're up there.
So I mean, you're starting to get towards not the Avenger, towards the Cuddy.
Oh, the Cuddy. Yeah, the Cuddy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed.
And these ships are relatively massive compared to the Basher, and more importantly, multifunctional.
Yeah.
So to approach that, and Captain Jones captures my immediate thinking at the time. which is you can get a wolf for that
Yeah,
price
for that
almost,
price.
and
Mm-hmm.
I mean for that price, and the wolf is a lot more stylish for me.
Yeah.
It's just a different aesthetic,
Yeah, agreed.
This is if you're going for that reaver, that reaver out your mind, out in pyro aesthetic.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if they make some functionality to these attachments and stuff that they do to it, that might add a couple more bucks to it. But if it just stays as a light fighter, it's just cosmetic. It's definitely a bit up there. So, okay, well, good job, CIG, on your design for that and bringing something different to the game with that group.
yes.
Um, we're going to skip through the the Alpha 4.9. You guys know Alpha 4.9 is out. You guys already know what is included in that. The two things that were added that were originally we weren't sure about, the Basher was one of them, right? That got put in. The other thing is that if I'm not mistaken, the Ninetales armor had been talked about being put in the second patch, but they did put it in this patch for the NPCs, for the elites, the grunts, and the boss. So the new Ninetales armor is supposedly in 4.9. So all the other stuff you guys already know about, the bullpup rifle, the cargo holders, the new hairstyles, the combat clothing, the Valakars being revamped, and the ship audio. Okay, but let's talk about 410 Sirius, because we've got some stuff here for the next patch, right? Battaglia's Alliance ships, implementing 3 ships attainable through mission progression with Recco Battaglia in Levski, Nyx the Drake Golem, Misk, in Levski Nyx. The Drake Golem, the Misk Prospector, and the Argo Mole, each featuring unique alliance-based liveries. This card's been set to tentative.
Well, and this speaks directly to what you're just talking about, the liveries, but not necessarily any new functionality, right?
Yeah, let's hope it's something else other than, because
But whether it's Wicklow or it's
Wicklow's,
Battaglia or whoever it is,
but
there
Wicklow
should
gets
be a
loadouts,
tweak.
right? Doesn't Wicklow get loadouts, special loadouts too, or is it just livery?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, but my thinking is each one of these folks should give you their base ship that they give you should have something special.
Yeah.
Like a little tweak.
Yeah.
To like a component or something like that. It doesn't have to be that big. I think they worry about throwing their balancing off. This is not the time to worry about that. Just enjoy this type of thing. We're all going to see new stuff at 1.0 anyway, right?
True that.
Try it out and let people go, oh, that's an alliance prospector. Its mining head does slightly different thing or slightly better thing or something over here, or maybe it does that, but here it uses this type of power to do it or whatever. Just something a little bit different that lets you identify it as a Battaglia ship, right? Versus the livery, right? So.
All right. They also brought out, this was interesting. This one was really interesting to me. The Hedeby Gunworks Arlington lever action rifle, implementing the Hedeby Gunworks Arlington, a lever action long rifle that blends classic craftsmanship with modern functionality, delivering accurate marksmanship, smooth cycling, and multiple fire modes. I have not seen this yet to try it out. Has anybody used this thing yet to see, is it cool?
Yeah, so I've
worth
used it.
Okay.
I've used it. It is that beautiful wood, that polished wood.
And now I want to know, does it kill people? That's what I want.
So let me say it's a beautiful weapon.
Yeah. Does it belong over my fireplace or does it belong on my back? That's what I'm trying to find out.
It has good lever action.
Okay.
But it was not something where I picked up when I fired and test fired it. It was not something that made me think this has to go in front of my kill shot. This has to go in front of my P4 or my P8. It was not that at all. It was interesting. It was beautiful. It was well crafted. But and it's still being balanced because you're talking 410, right? But,
you sound like I'm going to die looking good. That's what it sounds like you saying.
Yeah, and I would have it up over the fireplace in terms of right now. Yeah. I mean, Carbon Tales is not wrong. I think it felt very S71.
Okay.
It looks a lot better.
Okay. All right. I'll have to see what that's like. It's okay. I mean, it was freaking me out because it's lever action. I'm kind of like, okay, you know, if it's powerful, then I can, but it's just, I don't know. We'll see. I'll take a look at that
I
one.
can't remember who said it, but somebody said, that's going to come in a bundle with a duster jacket and a cowboy hat. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I might get that.
All right.
I might get
Ano-
that.
okay. Another part of 410, which they also included in this one, interestingly enough, that there was a Hedeby Gunworks S2 optic implementing a new attachment, the Hedeby Gunworks S2 optic. Now, my question to you is, since you've monkeyed around with this, is there something distinctive about this one other than cosmetic design? Because they could have just used any
No.
other S2.
No.
Really? It's just another optic. Wow. See, that's wild.
I mean, chat can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, my wife tells me I'm wrong on average about 7 times a day. So, but
I mean,
wouldn't
I'll be
think that
looking
there
for
was
something
anything-
unique. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the aesthetic uniqueness is fine, but I want something special and unique about this thing.
I think it was just the aesthetic.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see about that one then. Okay, real quick. We're almost at the end of this because we're already over our hour point. So I want to get into Serious Fun because he's put a lot of work into this topic for this week. We just want to real quickly reiterate that Star Jump Grim is having an event during the month of September. I'm not going to do the video or anything like that. I'm just going to show you guys the info. I'm not sure if he still has tickets for this, so you guys may want to check and see if you're
Last
interested in
time
going.
I heard him talk about it, he had 4, and then he posted around, I thought it was 3. So they may be gone. But
You may be whittled down. Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really nice event. It's not a convention, but it's not a bar citizen. It's something in between. And he's sponsoring this through Star Jump Grim and Star Jump Station. They're doing this in Columbus, Ohio. You guys can go to Star Jump Grim's website and find ticket information there. That we just put the link in for you for Eventbrite if there are tickets still available. I'm planning on going. I know there are a few of my friends here who have talked about jumping in the car with me, and we're going to drive out to Ohio. I was going to say Indiana, Ohio, for this event in September. So check it out. And we always like to support the folks over at Star Jump. So just something worth looking at. And then last but not least, my good friend Sirius, I'm going to come to you, of course, on this one. Sneak peek for this week. Good things come in colorful packages. What's the deal here? What are your observations and what are your conclusions or assumptions or predictions as to what this is?
Well, I think it's a couple things. One is this is the beginning of standardizing the types and colors and making diversifying with even more color the types of boxes we're going to see out in the world.
Okay.
We've got a little bit of that with you got the green boxes, you got the blue boxes, you got the red boxes that seem to be medical, etc. It looks like there's going to be more of that, with a little bit more subtlety, a little bit more in-game vibrancy. But I think this is also the beginning of giving us a framework by which we can box things and begin to think about our own cargo. This sneak peek for me, the colors here are a lot, I think, better for in-game than the colors that we have now. I'd like to see these colors and this color palette and for them to run with that in that direction. I think some of the stuff we see now stands out a little bit too much. And you and I have talked about this in other contexts, right? You don't have to make things so obvious all the time, right? You don't have to make things so simple all the time. You don't have to put oxes over the heads of my last 3 enemies in the bunker, right? Let me go around and find them, right? And you don't have to have a bright red box for me to know that it's medical. You can make it a little bit more subtle, which this seems to be trying to do, right? Now, I don't know what it's going to end up with, but the fact that we're getting a sneak peek means they're doing something, with color and packaging. And my hope is that it's going to go in that direction. You know.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the sneak peek? Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to see where, you always try to figure out where are they going with something. We started getting hints of this when they started producing. Remember they produced the box for the medical, with the pins in it and stuff, and then they
That we can
produced
carry around.
right. Then they produced the one for the L86. I think it was the L86 or the P38, whatever that little pistol is. Remember, it had the mags in it and the scope and the silencer and the gun, right? So they were giving us these other ones here. Trip Rodriguez, once again beating us to the punch, sitting over his viewers.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Trip. Hope you are doing well. Hope you had a great stream. Welcome, streamers. We are the Soul Citizens. I'm here with SeriousFun today, and we're just kind of wrapping up right now, talking about the sneak peek before we get into our topic for the week. But thank you again, Trip. We hope you're doing good, buddy. I'm just curious. One thing that's unique about these is this has moved us back into what I would consider courier-sized boxes. We've only had the 1/8 SCU box, and after that it was a 1 SCU. And a 1 SCU you've got to use a tractor beam with. Most of these boxes look like boxes that can be carried, except for maybe the large ones that are on the ground. So I'm curious as to see whether these will be mission related, as well as our own personal storage for when we have, because obviously when you have your base or something, you don't necessarily want to be having a bunch of 1 SCU containers all over your place, right? But maybe these are more appropriate for being able to put in this box for pistols, this one's for rifles, this one's for food, easier to designate. But I'm just still, there's this whole physics and physicality, physicalized aspects of this game that I'm trying to pay attention to and see where this is going. Because you still want to be able to identify things and not have a bunch of boxes and you just can't, you don't know what's in them. So I'm just
they need to be
curious.
stackable.
Yeah. I mean, I know they can do the grid thing like they're doing now, where you put something over it and it locks into place. But it's just, I'm just not sure what this is leading to. This is fine, but what is this leading to that this becomes relevant is what I'm looking for. So I'm down for it.
The reason it stands out to me is almost all the sneak peeks were very clearly of things that we were going to get in game very shortly.
True.
Right? And they look like the thing this is the first sneak peek to me that almost looked like the concept art of boxes before you get the real boxes, and the boxes don't quite look like that. Like the boxes are, when we end up getting the boxes, you see where they were headed with this concept art. But they gave this to us as a sneak peek.
Yeah.
So there's something happening with the boxes. This is not concept art. This is
this is the real McCoy. Yeah. And this is the second. This is the second sneak peek that they've given us that is weird. Remember, we had the one with the wall with the rack. We were trying to figure out what was going up on the wall. It was like a panel that you could put stuff on, and now we're getting this. So there's this aspect of organization, storage, something, that they're pointing us toward. But I don't know what the heck it's going to be. Okay. Well, we'll see, right? Not too far away. We'll see where this is going. Okay, we are going to get ready for the second half of our show. We did start a little bit late, gang. We're running about 15 minutes behind, but we promise you we are going to try to deliver all of the stuff that we need to today for you guys, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the topic that we have this week, which is talking about citizenship and lore with Lore Lighthouse. So give us a couple minutes. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back from that, we get our 4-minute breaks to get some snacks, something to drink, and then we'll be back to talk with you guys about the topic for the day. So we'll be back. Greetings. Hello. If you are here with us, thank you. Sirius is here with me, and I'm excited because today is one of those shows where he gets to do all the talking and I get to listen, and I have stayed away from this topic so that I could actually be informed and have the same curiosity that you guys have. So Sirius, give them a quick breakdown on what we're looking forward to for this week.
Oh, so this week, Lore Lighthouse is shining a light in that Soul Citizens way that we do on the idea of citizens versus civilians. Dave Haddock has let us know that this is going to be a central thrust of the run through 1.0 and the way you get started in Star Citizen.
Our time went up. Sorry, buddy. The 1 minute went up. We'll be back, y'all.
Bye.
On and on across the stars we fly, soul citizens, bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on, on and on, on and on. Bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on. And all across the endless night, our soul citizens burn ever bright. And all across the endless night, our soul citizens burn ever bright. On and on across the stars we fly, soul citizens, bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on, on and on, on and on. Abdi Johan, Captain Jones, Fast Card FC, Go Mab ATL, Griffin Gaming RPG, Jade Star Watcher, Karate, Colossal, SeriousFun, Summer Geo, Unique, Yo-Yo Man!
Welcome to Soul Citizens and to the Lore Lighthouse.
Lighthouse. explore. Lighthouse, Lord, Lighthouse.
So on you, Doctor. You got it.
I
Uh-huh.
oh, there was supposed to be another piece to that.
Oh, there was?
Yeah.
Oh no, did I miss it? Oh my God. I must have missed it. Oh my God. Did I grab the wrong thing? I probably did. Why don't you go ahead and, oh, can you do the first part and then I'll see if I can find it? Where's, or the semi, where's it at? If you got it someplace.
Right now.
Okay. Oh, Lordy, Lordy. I thought I had set him up perfectly. No, let me see. What did I miss? Oh, God. No, I didn't even see this. Oh, my God. Hold on. Let's see if I can pull this down real quick. I'm not sure if I can even do it. Copy. All right, I'm going to try and see if I can pull this off, gang, without ruining.
We trust you, Griff.
Oh, yeah, I don't trust me. That's the problem. Give me a second.
Ignore Senior Mukul in the chat. Ignore
is Mook starting some stuff. Mook is starting some stuff. All right, gang. I think I can make this work. I don't know if we're going to have audio, though. Oh, God. Okay. If there's no audio, then I'm going to have to do it a different way. So just bear with me. If there's audio, y'all let me know. If there's no audio, then let me know. Because I'm winging this here for my good friend. All right. Please, dear God, let there be audio. That's all I'm going to say here. Please let there be audio. That's on.
In the year 2956, every person living under the United Empire of Earth calls this place home. But not everyone who lives here gets a say in how it's run. Yep, there's audio. 2 words, 2 very different lives. Citizen and civilian. For centuries, the line between them has decided who votes, who owns, and who simply lives under the protection of an empire they have no voice in. Here, behind the checkpoint, is where the empire's future gets decided. Only citizens can cast a ballot for Imperator. Only citizens can sit in the Senate, the seats that govern 1,000 systems. Everyone else, they're civilians. Residents, yes. Legal, surely. Protected, no doubt. Served without question. But standing just outside that arch of citizenship, with no ballot of their own. So how does someone cross that line? History suggests the fastest path has always run through service. A uniform, a record, a debt paid to the empire that civilians can't repay from the sidelines. That line hasn't always been drawn fairly. This empire once locked civilians away for daring to speak. The rights we're about to unpack were not given. They were fought for in blood. Tonight, what it really means to be a citizen of the empire and what it means to be everyone else.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, welcome to Lore Lighthouse. and this idea that we're going to explore tonight of citizen versus civilian. And this conversation is enriched and empowered by the conversation you all have in chat and the questions that you ask. So don't forget about that. But remember that Lore Lighthouse, what we're trying out with Lore Lighthouse and Soul Citizens is to take sometimes well-known and sometimes lesser-known pieces of Star Citizen lore and shine a light on them in a way only we can do, right? Exploring questions and tying pieces of lore back to us as backers, as players, as people, and as a community. And so with what we did with the Tavaran, many people say, where do you derive the lore from? And I have to tell you that one of the richest places for that is Jump Point. So again, we talked a little bit. I feel like I'm selling subscriber benefits to the community, but we talked a little earlier about how when you're a subscriber, you're able to jump in these new ships and take them for a spin. Another powerful benefit of Jump Point of subscriber is the Jump Point magazines. And I'll tell you a little pro tip. You can subscribe for 1 month and then go and pull all the Jump Points down and have them as PDFs, right? You don't have to keep subscribing to have them. So that's something you can do. But some of this came from stuff as far back as 2020 in the Jump Points, where they began to really look at it. But the idea of Invictus Launch Week and Citizen Day, which we'll talk about later, go back even further than that, right? They go back to the earliest pieces of Star Citizen lore. Invictus Launch Week has been around seemingly forever. One of the questions I had for not only you, Griff, but for the community around Jump Point is there used to be prestige bundles of Jump Points.
Yeah.
Right. So the first, about this, the first volume.
Give me one. Hang on a second. I've got one. Hold on.
Oh, you see, that's why he's the big dog. We didn't even talk about this. He's gonna pull it up. I can tell you the only ones I've ever seen are on eBay, and they go for big money. Big money on eBay. Because they were professionally bundled, those first volumes of Jump Points.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, these. Some of you old timers will remember these. I actually had 2 of them. I don't know where my second one is.
Somebody probably reading it with reverence.
CIG used to, back in the day, make this. For those of you who can see, I'm trying to get the reflection down. This is volume 3 of Jump Point. There we go. And you can see this is thick. It's pretty big. And it's professionally put together with all of the jump points that took place. I don't know if this was for a year or what. It's a good question because I don't remember now. But it has tremendous information and detail in here that CIG puts out every month. And I think these were going for, I don't know, maybe a Fast Cart might remember what these were. Jade says she's got the third one, $400 on eBay. Oh my God. Yeah, these were like 30, 35 bucks. I don't remember, Jade, if you remember how much these were when they first came out, 40 bucks. I remember the freaking shipping was almost the same price as the volume itself. But these were pretty amazing. But I also know these were probably ridiculous for printing because these are glossy. I mean, they're really, really high quality books. So would I buy them? I would. I'd collect them. I'd collect every one of them. Just have a library of them because it's not just it's lore. it's all, like you said, it's the design of the ships, the design of the planets, the worlds. There's tons of information, Sirius, like you said, in these tomes.
Well, if I knew
Tome.
if I knew how to put up a poll,
Oh, you want a poll? Yeah, I can put a poll
yeah.
for you real quick. Yeah, sure.
And the question is, would you buy Jump Point Prestige volumes like this from CIG? And it's a yes or no question. Because if most of us say yes, Griff is going to go over to Manchester and talk to them about the female animation rig and the clothing options for women in the game. I want to go over and talk to them about Jump Point volumes, because I feel like, one, I missed out, and two, I want them to keep doing it. We've got like 14 volumes now, you know, and this would be something that I would collect. Askar's right. He's not wrong. I can gather all the PDFs and bind them myself, but I feel like there's a higher quality that they might be able to get than I might be able to get. So
Yeah. Well, the poll's running. You guys can chime in on that. If it's something, if the price was, let's say the price was still something like $35-40, you know, for
right.
full year. I'm assuming these were like a full year, because jump points are pretty lengthy. You know, they can be 20 pages, you know, long, sometimes 30 pages long. So about 12 months of that, it's pretty big, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll let that poll run.
Sure.
But that's a large portion of where I derive lore from. The other places is Galactopedia entries. And we'll talk a little bit about one of those entries tonight. And then the ongoing lore that we experience, like I said, Invictus Launch Week, Holiday Lore, etc. So let's just talk about the first dimension of citizenship. And the idea here is that there is a legal line. Do you want to read that, Griff? I won't have you read too much.
Oh, no, sure. No problem. Not a problem. The UEE, United Empire of Earth, draws a sharp legal line between citizens and civilians, and it comes down almost entirely to political enfranchisement and certain property rights, not day-to-day treatment under the law.
Yeah.
Want me to keep going?
So, no, I'll do the next part. So citizens are the only members of UEE society that can participate in imperial politics. And this next part is going to stand out for folks who were around in 2950. 2950, of course, is 2020. The voter guide spells this out directly. Only citizens can vote for Imperator. Only citizens can vote for Imperator. Civilians, by contrast, are full legal residents and beneficiaries of the Empire's protection and services, but they have no ballot in electing the Imperator, which is the Empire's head of state, for those who don't know, and implicitly no equivalent standing in the political process that the Senate and the Imperator run, right? So one of the things that stands out to me with this voter guide, can vote for Imperator, is this question, and I give this to you, Griff. What did it mean then for all of us to vote on Imperator in 2950, in 2020?
Yeah. Well, let's go back, because there's some people who weren't around back then.
Right.
So they don't even know that there was an election, right? Yeah, there was the CIG actually held an election, and I think there were 4 candidates, I think.
At least,
Yeah, there were at least 4 candidates that ran. In fact, when you're on the trams, sometimes when you're traveling back and forth, you may see these posters that are listing these different people's names. And Addison and some of the other folks' names up there, Jade mentioned one, Lillard, their names are up there. That's why those are there. They plastered those all over for us to see. And they gave us backgrounds on each candidate, and we had to choose who we wanted to vote for. And the winner at that time was Addison. And CIG basically took that vote from us and then built the lore of Addison's period running for, I think it's for 10 years, correct me if I'm wrong, Serious. The office is for 10 years.
Yes, it's for 10 years. That's right.
And so we've had a few things that have happened in the Star Citizen universe that the Imperator's name has been brought back up again, in particular when we were having the regen crisis, and there was another time, I think, when something came up. So it's been interesting. I wish that we had more of that interaction. I know we don't have everything in place for the Empire, quote unquote, but I wish there was more that lore was brought in more, and that things that happen in the game, there's a little bit of backing and forthing going between that, but it doesn't happen as much as I would like personally. So
Yeah. But I think what it also means is that in 2020, we were all being considered citizens.
at the time, yeah, because everybody got to vote. Yeah, everybody, even you, Jade.
Out
Miss
there in the
Levski,
People's Alliance.
Miss
You
People's
got to vote.
Alliance, the ambassador for the People's Alliance. Yeah.
Everybody was being considered a citizen, right? But if we go back to Dave Haddock's run up to 1.0 discussion at CitizenCon Manchester,
Yeah.
he's made it clear that citizenship is something that we're going to earn, which means we're not going to have it. Right. And so this is a shift that CIG apparently has made, unless the storyline explains how we lose our citizenship or something like that. Right. We had it in 2020. We voted for Addison. We looked at all the different I voted for Addison. Everybody didn't vote for Addison. I voted for Addison because I wanted to see some AI, because I'm already like, we don't have no droids. We can at least
Yeah, I
get some
voted for
AI.
Addison. Yeah, I voted for Addison.
And we're going to a 1.0 future that where we will not have citizenship and we'll have to earn it. So I just thought that was an interesting piece. Other thoughts on this particular legal line between citizens and civilians?
Maybe something will happen, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe something will happen, in light of, I don't want to get into the whole dynamics of what launches when, but let's just say that between the launch of Squadron 42 and 1.0, if that 10-year mark comes around, there's another election. And maybe there's not an Addison in place. There's someone else, and something shifts where people have to make a choice. Because by that point, too, you've also hopefully built out a few more worlds. So like right now, we have a place for like the People's Alliance. We have a place for them to reside right now, right? We've got the Nick system. When we voted in 2020, we didn't have that, right? Everybody had to be in Stanton. So maybe there could be some possibility that some realities do come from this, and people will have to choose whether they want to be a part of the UEE or not,
Well, and the last, I say last, I assume last, planetary system we're getting in the run-up to 1.0 will be Terra. And Haddock made it clear that there's going to be the storyline around citizenship will be steeped in the tension between Terra and Earth.
And Earth, yeah.
And we know on Terra there's the transitionalist party who is a little bit more radical about wanting Terra to be the center and capital of the UEE. And what if the next Imperator comes from Terra and exacerbates that tension? It'd be very interesting.
It would be.
Yeah. But I think the rest of our conversation hinges upon this legal foundation, right? That there is a real difference in terms of political enfranchisement and property rights, which we'll talk about in a second, between citizens and civilians. But note, not day-to-day treatment under the law, right? So if I show my behind in the G-Lock bar and have to be tossed out by law enforcement, I'm going to get the same fine, the same ticket, the same overnight jail time as a civilian, as a citizen might get. Day-to-day treatment under the law is the same. It comes down to political enfranchisement who can vote for whom and who can run for office,
Mm-hmm.
as well as property rights. So that's Dimension 2. Coffee Gamer said, you get tossed out for that? I got a video of me dancing for 3 hours at G-Lock Bar, so apparently not, but
Yeah.
Dimension 2, property and commerce. This distinction also shows up in commerce and property law, this distinction between citizens and civilians. Citizens can own property in the UEE. Civilians cannot.
Mm-hmm.
So those folks that have those land claims, if you ain't a citizen, you can have the land claim all the land claim beacons you want. You can't drop them in UEE space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got your land grant, but you got to have citizenship for you to be able to use it in UEE space. Citizens can own property in the UEE. Civilians cannot. Civilians can rent property from citizens or citizen-owned companies, but may neither own nor rent out any land or edifices within the UEE. So a civilian can't own land, and they can't form a company to own land, right? So there's no getting around being that citizen in terms of that, or being a citizen-owned company. In terms of buying things in commerce, the ability or not to purchase ships also illuminates this ongoing distinction. For example, the Idris frigate's civilian market history describes a surplus act that first allowed only citizens to legally purchase demilitarized former Navy warships. What did that mean? That means that when they decided to make the Idris available outside the military via the Surplus Act, it didn't go, the opportunity to purchase it didn't go to everybody, right? So you might be a civilian popping in from Pyro, seeing that, wanted to buy the Idris and take it back. They were like, nah, no. We're starting off with citizens, right? And that right was gradually loosened over the decades, expanding from citizens down to militia forces, then corporations, then private buyers. And that legal ladder treats citizen status as the top tier of trust and privilege, with civilian pride applied more broadly to everyone below that tier, including consumer market products that are explicitly labeled civilian edition versions of military hardware, and the Carrick's civilian variant is a good example of that. So what we're able to discover through the lore is that you begin with that legal line of citizen versus civilian, but really the way it functions in property and commerce is it's citizens, it's militia, it's corporations, then it's private buyers, right? Then it's private buyers. So the question I have for Griff and the question I have for the chat is, what other ships do we think will be subject to the Surplus Act in the game's future? Remember that video we saw of the space station and the Bengal?
Yeah.
You think they're going to do the same thing there?
I struggle already. I have struggled with this issue of the fact that civilians own ships like Idrises and stuff already. I already wrestle with that, right? Because I remember when the Carrick was the very first one that I remember them saying it's decommissioned. It formerly was military. It's been converted to a civilian version. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is a pretty big ship to be freaking civilian. But I said, okay, that's it. But I think I let it go because it was considered more expeditionary science or whatever. But then you started getting into ships like the Perseus and the Polaris, and I'm like, wait a minute, now these are actual military, even if they're reduced versions of other ships. They're still, civilians are buying. It's like buying a battleship. It's like, it's like, really. So I'm glad you're mentioning this in relation to the what happened, where originally you had to be a civilian. And I know for the sake of fantasy and gaming, that's why we're able to do it. Whether or not the Bengal, and see, when you mentioned about the Bengal, see, now you get into the whole thing about, well, does that mean you can construct one now because you're a civilian? It would be interesting if they decided to say,
citizen. You mean a citizen?
A citizen, right? I mean, it'd be really interesting if they made it so that you had to be, and I know there's be some people who'd be bent out of shape about it, but maybe not. if they said you have to be a citizen in order to build certain things. Now, one of the big things that came about was when the F8 got released, right? And people were like, oh, they said they weren't going to release the F8 until, you know, Squadron 42 comes out. There are different versions of the F8. And the one that's in the game right now is the civilian version of it. Many of us have seen the F8A. People have noted that even the F8 that is in Squadron 42 is a different F8. So, you know, and that was supposed to be upon either, was it citizenship or completing the game? Something like that. You would possibly get access to some other ship. I don't know if that's still the agenda.
Well, we did a video on it, and there were 11 or 12 different submissions by Ben Lesnick, CIG, and a bunch of others that were representing the idea that, and when we finished with all that, we realized that they kind of said that they could do whatever they wanted with the F8.
Right. And my point is that they can still deliver.
People held on to what they wanted to hold on to out of those different statements, you know.
Well, in the early days, there was only the assumption that there was only one F8 too. Right. So that's why people embraced it so badly, you know, but and for those of you who know, the civilian version and the A version are two different ships when it comes to firepower and what they can do. So the F8C is definitely a watered down version of what the other one is. The other one is much more intense than this one is. And there's another, isn't there there's like a F7X?
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of other ships that we haven't even seen in the game yet that they have.
And that's my saving grace for some of this too. I feel similar to you in that I like when I go through the Squadron 42 video and I see an Idris, a military UEE Idris in there, and it looks different. The engines look different. The other stuff looks different than the Idris that we get, which I want the military stuff
to be above us,
sort of be above us, and to be kind of inaccessible, and to be final arbiters when stuff happens in UEE space, et cetera, et cetera. So I was kind of disappointed that the F7A was made available. Now I have it.
You weren't that disappointed, huh?
I wasn't that disappointed. But I would have been perfectly fine with that never showing up either, in terms of our access to military hardware, right?
Okay.
And so, what other ships do you think might be subject to the Surplus Act in the game's future? Bengal, do you think the Retribution? I mean, what do you think?
No. They better not ever put the Retribution out, ever. There's just no need. There's no need. I'm already wrestling with the battle cruiser, so, and they still have the possibility of building a cruiser. So there's enough military scale at that point to me. Again, I think Idris is too big, you know, personally. You know, you're pushing it with me, like I said, past the Carrack, in the sense of civilian owned things. Now, if they build something into the game that you earn or work toward it, and you get the status, and maybe you've done the time in the UEE military or something like that, you register, then I could justify it in my brain. But just the average Joe who just decides to jump out of his Prospector and then go climb into his Idris, it's like, it's too far from me. So it's, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, it would be interesting for any new ships that they want to introduce in that way to deploy the lore that they've created, in that you could do something like citizens down to militia forces, right? Like you'd have to be in an org, and the ship would have to be tied to an org of a certain size in order to gain access to it. I know a lot of people would be uptight.
Yep,
about
they
that.
sure would be. They sure would be.
But I feel like that
That's
would be an
okay.
interesting way to engage with the lore.
Yeah, it would be.
And I know that they can't treat the lore as a suicide pact, right? They can't
True.
like destroy themselves in the game because they wrote something down, right?
Right.
But I think part of the reason they wrote this, and we'll talk about this each time that we talk about lore Lighthouse, is that the larger meta arc of lore, the empire, etc., is one that mirrors the Roman Empire.
Right.
And so the Roman Empire was a Roman republic first, right? the same way that the UEE was the UPE, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the UNE before that, but the UPE, and then it became an empire. But we also know that the Roman Empire came to an end,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to this thing vis-a-vis the lore.
Mm-hmm.
And our ability to engage with it and decisions we make in it, I'd like to see play a role over the long term in what that arc looks like. Yeah. Okay, so Dimension 3, we've talked about the legal line between citizens and civilians. We've talked about property and commerce and some of the implications that might have. There's also a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
You want to read this one?
Sure. Citizen Day is a holiday observed annually in the United Empire of Earth, UEE, on October 10th. It was established to recognize the achievements of people who have attained citizenship through civic responsibility, military service, altruistic work, and other positive and impactful contributions to their communities. It is also the day in which new citizens are formally recognized. The recognition ceremony takes place at the Citizen Day Conference, also known as CitizenCon, an event held in new city in a new city in the UEE every year. Let me keep going.
Before we go further, I just want to back
Okay.
up for a second.
Sure.
You said Citizen Day is a holiday observed annually on October what?
October 10.
October what?
10th.
And this year, October 10th, where are you going to be?
I don't know. I'm hoping where I'm hoping to be. I don't know. I'm trying to make sure I can go. But yeah, this year between October 9th and 11th, CIG is doing their Squadron 42 event in Manchester.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Part of the reason I haven't talked about it, I also have been invited, just so people know, by CIG. And part of the reason I haven't talked about it is because I'm trying to figure out if I can go. Right?
We're both trying to figure out if we can go.
Griff and I are both trying to figure out if we can
go. Fastcar might be over there by
Fastcar might be representing Soul Citizens. But I think part of the reason I come back to that in terms of the lore is I think that this is I feel like this is a holiday that is under recognized as the driver of our CitizenCon, right? So the Citizen Day Conference, also known as CitizenCon, is the in-lore, inverse version of the CitizenCon we experience every October. And it is around this October 10th Citizen Day.
Yep.
Right? So,
the
other thing that, I'll continue. The other thing is Citizen Day was seen primarily as a bank holiday. And that's funny that they say bank holiday because bank holiday is a UK term.
Yep.
And it's not an American term. But a bank holiday in the UK is like a federal holiday in the United States, right? But it was seen primarily as a bank holiday until 2734, when Gaylor Messer, the ninth, used xenophobic propaganda to turn it into a tool to boost military recruitment and held lavish celebrations in honor of citizen sacrifices for the betterment of the UEE. In the second half of the 28th century, anti-Messer activists on Terra used the holiday to recruit others to their cause. And after the Messers fell, the new Imperator Aaron Toy held the first Citizen Day Conference in New York City, Earth, which is Sol 3, on 10 October 2793. So like most things in the lore, we come back to the Messer era, the anti-Messer sentiment, and the post-Messer period, right, in our analysis, right? So this was mainly a bank holiday used with xenophobic propaganda, Togi and some others aren't here. I don't see them in the chat anyway. But they're anti-alien anyway.
Lefty's in there. He's definitely
Oh.
anti-alien. Yeah.
Anti-alien anyway, right? So that would have been okay, some of that propaganda, right? But to turn it into a tool to boost military recruitment, but then it was used against them, right? So for me, the way that I experienced that was the idea of what does it mean to be a citizen in this community was evolving, right? The messers were were able to use it for centuries to mean one thing, and then as anti-messer sentiment kicked in, people were able to use it for something else. They flipped it and said, no, Citizen Day is about really being a citizen, and really being a citizen is overthrowing this tyrannical government, right? And then the Citizen Con, or the Citizen Day Conference, after the Messers fell, has been that ongoing celebration of being a citizen, being the right kind of citizen in the United Empire of Earth. And there's still a tension with that, right? Because you're still an empire.
Yeah.
It's not like you overthrew the notion of empire, right? You kept that, right? But you did overthrow the worst excesses of your leadership. So do we think that this is what CitizenCon will evolve into once the game is out? What are your thoughts, Griff?
We've talked about this. There are times when CIG has done things that if you're outside of the game, and if you're outside of all this great information that Sirius is giving you, you will ask yourself, I don't understand why they're doing what they do, or why they did what they did. I'm just going to go side rail just for a second. When you visit the Robert Space Industries website, it is very unintuitive to a lot of people, because most people are used to going to a website, seeing their information across the top, and it takes them wherever. There's a traditional menu that people are used to. CIG,
first of all, they looking to go. They want to play Star Citizen. They're looking for StarCitizen.com. And
they're looking for Star Citizen, right?
Industries.
Not Robert Space Industries, right? Exactly. So the thing that they did that was very unusual in there was that they described all their areas up there as apps. And they did that because it was tied into the mobiGlas. The design is the exact same thing. Now, if you don't know what a mobiGlas is, you have no idea why they decided to say apps at the top of their thing. And CitizenCon is kind of that same type of animal for me. It is extremely unique to see a game that 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was in 2015, started by having a convention for a game that was not even out there, not officially produced, where you had people coming from all over the world to gather. Now, this isn't like when you go to BlizzardCon, right? Or something like that, right? Or Bethesda's thing. This is, people are coming to this as if this thing is just up and running and everything is great and fine. And so I always looked at this aspect of the con, and when I found out about this in the lore, that this was tied into this, it kind of blew me away that they actually built that in 11 years ago, to what has now grown into this big event. Now, to your point, when we went to the last one, when they did the areas for organizations, remember? They built a whole structure with the manufacturer boxes, the containers, the shipping containers, and all this stuff, right? When they were in Los Angeles, they built the whole theme around pyro. So I could see how they could eventually, if they decide to, push the lore into those events so that when people come to them, we're not just gathering for the sense of let's hear what the developers are doing lately, but now it's actually tied into, there are things that take place at that con. I know that in the game Eve, many of you all know that there are actually human people, players, who get voted in to represent folks in the game, represent folk. And it would be interesting, I'm sure you're going to talk about this, that the different planets have senators. They have people who get voted in. It would be so cool if there was something like that happens with players, right? I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that they could do. We're not saying they will. But to your point, could CitizenCon grow into something else or evolve into something else that is much more tied to the lore? There's a lot of possibility for that. Not probability, but possibility.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I would love to see this idea of CitizenCon held in a new city in the UEE every year expressed in, in fact, my dream is that, we get to 1.0, we have our 5 systems.
Right.
They continue to introduce systems all the time.
Right.
And that systems get introduced sometimes by us going to the system first at CitizenCon.
Yeah.
Learning
That's
about
cool.
it, and then all of a sudden they're like, when CitizenCon finishes, they're like, yeah, on Monday you'll be in
Right.
God's system, right?
That
On
that would
Monday,
be very
you'll
cool.
at the Hades system. Yeah, it'd be very cool.
Okay.
So the next piece is, in order to go forward, I want to take us back, and this is a video, the Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy video, and to understand the darker side of citizenship, we have to understand Haros, which is today known as the Charon system.
Welcome to another episode of Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy. My name's Adam Weezer. I'm an associate writer here in the Los Angeles studio. And if you haven't seen an episode of this before, it's a chance for a member of the lore team to sit down and give you a personal tour of one of the systems that you'll be seeing in Star Citizen or possibly Squadron 42. So today we're going to start off on we're going to go and visit a very unique system that is unlike any other one in the UE. Just for the simple fact that it is the only system to have rejected their official recognition in the UEE Senate. Now, I'll explain why that's super important later on, but let's go and visit that system, which is Charon. So if we look at the star map here, we're here on Earth. I'm just gonna bring up the search menu here, drop in Charon, and off we go. Now, Charon has always been considered a frontier system to a certain degree, which I'll get into in a little bit. On the very basic level, it's 5 planets in an asteroid belt, and at the center here is a K-type main sequence star. We'll go in close, and you can see some of the detail in the star map up there. Now, as you can see, just from looking at when we zoom in on the system here, it looks pretty small. Like some systems, when you jump in, the sun will be it will be massive. This is small to reflect the actual size of this sun. This K-type main sequence star is like pale orange and yellow, and it has a luminosity of 0.35. So it's about a third as bright as our sun, and its mass is about 0.74. So it's 75% as massive as the sun at the center of the Sol system. So that's just a little info on the sun itself. Now, the reason why this system became so special and ended up leaving the UEE's Senate, at least, is location, location, location. Now, if I back this up here for a quick second, and you remember you saying this was on the frontier, the Charon system was discovered right through Helios, right here, and this was in 2538. There was a merchant marine at the time in Helios by the name of Max Keaton, who was on his very first run, and Helios has these like terrible kind of like solar winds that can like mess with the electronics, and his ship got knocked out because of one of these solar winds, and he was so nervous about being late for his first shipment that he just continued on course while he did a quick diagnostic of his ship's systems. When everything was back online, he checked him out and realized that he was way off course. But he also noticed some strange other anomalies in the area that he was currently going through. So he put a little pin in that, completed his run, came back, and what he found was this medium-sized jump point to the Charon system. Now, part of the reason why the system stayed in isolation for so long was because this was the only way you could get to it. It wasn't, you'll see here, if I turn on the large jump points, you see it connects to Tyrol and the Genesis system. Now, the Genesis system wasn't discovered until 2812, and the Tyrol system wasn't discovered until 2823. So with this being discovered in 2538, there were a few centuries where Charon could literally only get accessed by this one jump point. Now I'll turn these on really quick just to show you that Charon also has one jump point here to Kins, a small one, which is a Banu system, and they also didn't find out about later. But this isolation and the restricted access to the system through this one jump point really had a big effect on this system's history. Now, the second location that's very important here is the planet Charon 3. Which we'll go in right here. This is a terrestrial rocky planet, which is the only reason why the UEE even decided to take the system. They terraformed it, figuring that people would want to move in, maybe start industry, but the soil wasn't very fertile, so it didn't attract a lot of farmers. Manufacturing companies that wanted to maybe build something were put off by, the land there was cheap to buy, but getting there just took a lot of time, and getting through the medium jump point was a huge pain in the butt. So this planet ended up basically attracting people who wanted to live on the frontier, people who wanted to be independent and kind of have their own homestead and kind of not be close or be bothered with anyone. Now, the result of this is the second location problem that happens here in Charon, and that is that in 2635, Livia Messer III decided to reform the UEE basically justice system. And when she did this, one of the things she decided to do was build a massive prison in the country of Dellen here on Charon 3. Now, this was just a start. It was a way to kind of get some economic spending in there and get that region going, which it worked. It then got increased drastically when her brother, Corson Messer V, came to power shortly thereafter. Livia Messer had good intentions, but was maybe a little aggressive in her reformation of the judicial system. She ended up in a spacecraft that crashed upon re-entry, entering Earth. Her husband was killed, her son was killed, and she was horribly, horribly injured. So she renounced the title of Imperator. She gave the title honorarily to her son, who had died in the crash, and then disappeared from public life, and Corson stepped forward, some suggesting that he might have been the root cause of the crash in the first place. Now, Corson doubled down on the prison systems in Charon and basically turned them into the prison camps for the Messers for the rest of their reign. Now, this was something that happened in Charon, and people started to find out about and hear about. The people in Dellen were benefiting from all this government money coming in, but some of the other countries are hearing about these horrible, horrible things happening there. Yet whenever somebody tried to question it or look into exactly what was happening, they disappeared, most likely ending up in a lot of these prisons that were built there in the first place. Now, this went pretty deep because in 2670, the Senate, the UEE, recognized Charon 3 as an official planet in the Senate. And when you get this, you get a senator. It just greases the wheels for more political capital and government spending to come back to your system, which is why planets want to achieve that status of being recognized in the UEE Senate. Now, many believe that Corson Messer basically did a handshake deal with one of the leaders of Dellen to get Senate recognition in exchange for all these prisons and all these terrible things he was putting there. And this was kind of proven out as over the next 100 years, these prisons and their reputation only grew. And when the Messers fell in 2792, the first thing people did was go into these prisons and document all the atrocities that had gone on there. Now, this entire time while the Messers were in charge, Charon 3 was a member of the UEE Senate, had voting rights, kept the money coming on in. But at the time of the Messer fall, Senator Constant Whitterfield from Charon was arrested for fraud and basically locked away. Charon 3 was assigned to send a new senator to basically represent itself, but vicious political infighting on the planet ended up delaying that for the 3 years until the end of her term was done. When it was done, the population of Charon 3, having felt betrayed by what the Messers had done on their planet and what kind of bad light they put it in, decided they didn't need the Senate. If this is how the government was going to treat them, then they don't want to be recognized anymore. So they, in 2795, became the first and only planet in UEE history to renounce their recognition from the UEE Senate. Now, of course, especially after the Messers, the big fiasco, and with the Xi'an kind of like growing stronger on their border, the UEE didn't want to look weak. So what they ended up doing is setting an example of this system. All the government funding to Charon 3 dried up. All of a sudden, all those, even though they were horrible prisons, people were being put to work there, they were building stuff, food was being supplied, that's all gone. And all of a sudden, the state of Delin is in a critical state because its #1 economic driver has evaporated. Now, the final location that really factors into this is where Delin is on Charon 3 and where its rival state Acheron is in Charon 3. Delin is a massive desert country. Acheron, which is a neighbor and kind of like political rival for power, is half desert and half tropical. So after the UE money left the system, Delin fell into a very hard state. It ended up suffering from a handful of basically famines. They had a tough time getting food in there, and they appealed to the people of Acheron to come along and to basically support them and help them. Acheron, also being part desert, was, well, they also were suffering, but they were slightly better off. So from Delin, they looked better, but they still weren't any great state. Refugees were flooding over the Delin border, and Acheron, things just got crazy, and a civil war broke out between these two states on Charon 3. This happened in like 2811. It was when the first drought really struck and civil war broke out. The civil war broke out from 2813 to 2819 before a ceasefire was negotiated, which, to be honest, is kind of been on and off ever since. There's been times in its history where they'll have a few decades where they'll be peaceful and good together, and then something will pop off between the two, and they'll start to attack each other, or old grievances will be raised, and they're back to civil war. One example of this is in 2934, there was a relative time of prosperity on the planet and peace between Delin and Acheron, when a massive earthquake really devastated parts of Acheron. Delin at this point was able to step forward and actually provide some aid to the planet, to Acheron, and they ended up building this masterful Philae Tower, which is considered a kind of like a perfect example of super modernist architecture. It's an architectural landmark in the entire UEE. But Delin, seeing this, wondered how could they build such a massive and beautiful thing when they needed our help after this massive earthquake. So again, tempers flared up and they started to fight again. Most recently, the most recent civil war, which is still ongoing, started in 2944. When Tarquin Class became the leader of Delin, and Acheron accused him of being a tyrant, of intimidating voters, of rigging the vote, and basically intervened, came on in. The two sides have started to fight again, and they're still fighting to this day. So people can deliver humanitarian supplies and different things to Charon 3 right now. They desperately need it. But there's also a good chance if you do enter this atmosphere, you may be shot at by either one of these forces. So it's one of these places you want to be very strategic about when you go and visit. The UEE Navy does have a presence in the system, basically just as a watcher. Like the UEE rules and regulations say that we can't intervene unless there's gross misconduct, and fighting between two countries, at least at this point, hasn't been considered that. Many in the UEE are wondered what's the line for when we need to intervene and keep these two countries from consistently tearing each other apart. Now Charon 3 is really, this is the heart of the Charon story and why it is what it is. But let's step back out and talk about the other few planets in the system really quick. Charon 1 is a dwarf planet that just by sheer terrible luck got struck by a rogue planet or a massive asteroid, and it knocked it out of its original orbit. So this is actually in a decaying orbit, which is slowly being pulled into the star of Charon. At the same time, the waves from the energy from the sun is blasting off the surface and everything that's here. So as you fly by Charon 1, it almost is going to look like a comet because the heat and the intensity of the sun is actually subliming a lot of the gases and the rocks and everything that's there on the planet right now. It's self-destructing, which is very descriptive for what's happening in the system in general. Now, if we move on here to Charon 2, this is a gas planet, a smog planet. It's very much like Venus in the fact that it has a runaway greenhouse gas effect, where particulates in the air are trapping the heat, sun's coming in, just not being able to leave. The temperature is obscenely hot and not suited for humanity whatsoever. Charon 3 we've discussed. We've got the Gidinashu, asteroid belt right here, which was named in honor of a popular 25th century vid character. If we move on past the green line out here, we get to Charon 4, which is an ice giant. Now this is a beautiful blue world, and this actually inspired the name of the system, Charon. Max Keaton, the merchant marine who had discovered the system, had a grandfather who was a classics professor at Redder, and he had told him all about ancient Earth history and ancient Earth lore. And one of the characters that always stuck with him was this character from Greek mythology by the name of Charon. And Charon was basically the ferryman of the dead. When you died, you got into his boat, and he took you across the river Styx to the dead world on the other side. So the blue here is what inspired him of the river and made Max Keaton think of Charon and wanted to answer that. And Charon 5 is the dead world he was referencing to. So as sailors would go by Charon 4, they would see Charon 5 out here, which is a dwarf planet. It's a completely dead world. Every few decades, some mining concern figures it might be worth another scan to see if there's anything hidden there that hasn't been noticed before. Nothing's ever been found, and so this dead world just sits on the outer reaches of Charon, waiting to see what happens around it. So that's the story of Charon. Very interesting system because for a geopolitical sense in the game, it'll be a very dangerous system to go, especially around Charon 3 with the Civil War still raging on. So hope you learned a few things about this interesting star system. And yeah, make sure to check out the star maps. It's a fantastic feature. Has a lot of really cool things on there that can teach you a lot of these little tidbits that we're setting out here. Thanks for watching, and yeah, join us again for another episode of Lore Makers coming up soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.
Okay. Cool stuff.
Can you all hear me now?
Yep.
I was yakking and yakking.
I figured. By the way, Dika, thank you so much for the sub. Happy to have you here. Don't worry, you're not too late. We appreciate you being here.
Are you right on time? Right on time. The dark side of citizenship, and you know, the last time we talked lore, we talked about the Tavaran, and we came to understand some things about the empire that we live in that aren't necessarily that palatable, right? This is another example of that when we're talking about the empire's light conversion centers, right? They focused a lot on dissidents, and a dissident, you know, is reasonably defined as someone who is in public disagreement and is strongly separating from the established authority, right? So the key thing to understand about dissidents is you can't be a dissident unless you're a citizen, right? Unless you already inside the powerful group, you can't then separate or be in public disagreement with the group. You have to. That's why dissidence is so powerful, because you're saying I'm part of this group and I disagree, right? And under the Messers, they used the Harrow system, which became Charon 3. They used that system, and it's as the Lore Makers video described, it's limited access to build out this whole prison system. And the largest prison was called Orville, which will break the hearts of some folks who love that show, right? But the largest prison was called Orville, and that became the central processing center for all new prisoners. And the largest group of prisoners was political dissidents, so citizens who said, I disagree.
Yeah.
And this also included deserters, right? You couldn't be a deserter unless you were on the inside of the military, right? Xi'an sympathizers at the time, you know, the Messers were notably xenophobic. Former members of the press, protesters, social organizers, agitators, and even elected politicians, right? Anyone who acted or spoke against the edicts of the Messer government was in danger of being imprisoned on this planet, right? Convictions were not necessary.
You didn't
Just
pick this
being
just by random chance or anything, did you? I'm just kind of curious as to. This is very relevant these days in certain countries. That's why I'm asking.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I, you know, there's text and context and subtext. But you know, convictions weren't necessary. Just being arrested for a political crime was enough to throw someone into Orville, supposedly to wait for a fair trial, right? I spent a year in real life working at Rikers Island, which is supposed to be a bail jail, right? And people who had been there for years, supposedly waiting for a fair trial. Orville is like that, right? Many died there waiting for hearings that were never granted, and contact was not allowed with the outside world, right? So these folk, so there was a multiple levels of harm being done here to citizens by citizens. The first level of harm was contact not allowed with the outside world, so nobody outside even knows what's happening here. And then, as the Lore Maker's Guide revealed, even people on the planet who thought, oh, well, we have a prison system here, but you know, it's reasonable, it's just, they didn't know how bad it was on their own planet. Right. And so when these folks who were citizens at the time, right, Charon 3, Haros becomes Charon 3. Charon 3 becomes a member of the UEE, which means it has a senator, right, it's represented in the UEE Senate. When they discovered, after the fall of the Messers, what was happening in their name on their planet to other citizens, how many people had died waiting for hearings that were never granted, how many people had been there because they had just been arrested because they spoke out, right? They were social organizers that the Messers didn't like, or they were members of the press, right? Or they said the wrong thing to the wrong person in the wrong room. They were so, as a community, as a planet, as a planetary population, they were so distraught by what had happened that they renounced their entire citizenship. You know, they renounced their entire citizenship and they walked away from the United Empire of Earth. Now, we have to believe that Charon didn't really offer anything else to the UEE in terms of resources, in terms of anything else, because you'd figure they wouldn't allow them to walk away. But really, this was a prison planet, and that's what it was. And once that was revealed and could no longer be sustained, when the Charon 3 population said, we want to be out, we don't want to be a part of what you've done and who you are anymore, we said, the UEE said, fine.
Yeah.
Right. What's crazy about it, and the detail of the lore is so interesting, because what happened is what you would expect to happen, which is there was one state or one nation state on the planet that had gotten all of their revenue and all of their resources and all of their lifestyle and all of their culture from the resources and money that came in to sustain the prison system. And that was Delin. And the other one, Acheron, was the other state that felt like the Delins had let them down, which led ultimately to a number of conflicts and then civil war. And the civil war is going on to this day. It remains a 12-year ongoing war. It really harkens back to a difference in among the states as to what a citizen actually is. So the question I have for you, Griff, and the question I have for the chat is, there's two of them that come out of this section, and then we can kind of wrap up. Question one is, do you think Charon 3 will ever return to the UEE? Why or why not?
Oh, do I think they'll return to the UEE?
Yeah. Because on the one hand, if they come back to the UEE, they come back with some moral authority, right? They come back in a way that they could lead, right? Because they left for the right reasons, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they'll ever come back?
I don't know. There's still issues with the UEE, so I'm not sure how far since they, went the direction they did, whether they'll think it's worth it, or whether they're better to stay separate as the way they are. I really don't know. I'm not feeling them coming back after making that move, because like you said, that's a lot of hurdles to have to make folks break away, right, and renounce their citizenship. So,
right,
to come back at this point, they've been thriving all this time. What is the UEE? What is the incentive for them to come back at this point? I'm not sure if I'm seeing it. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question is, and I see Jade has some thoughts on this.
Yeah, there will be a UEE civil war. Yeah.
Jade is dropping some thoughts. The other question I have is, do you think that, let's assume that there's a pathway to citizenship in the game for us, right? I think that's a reasonable assumption. We've heard a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there'll be a pathway to elected office in the game for us? A pathway for there eventually to be Senator Griffin from Terra.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Wherever Origin Jumpworks is headquartered.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Right.
Jade said something earlier, and I was not necessarily saying this is what happened. I was just saying how Eve actually elects real people to represent folks in the game. That's a slightly different thing that they have there. I don't think it's necessary for CIG to do that. What I do think that they can do, though, is exactly what they did when we had the other election, where they create the candidates and the players are the ones who still can cast votes. So if you live at a certain planet or a certain system or whatever, if there's representation there for you, that's fine. If you choose to live in a system that doesn't have any UEE influence, you ain't got to worry about it. I think that would be the easiest thing for them to do. It also allows them to have flexibility to control the narrative. I mean, they can still leave it open to whatever direction we go, but obviously it would make it much more easier for them if they're going to make lore that, lore has to be something beyond what we're thinking in the immediate, right? It's got to be thinking 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, right?
Right.
And
right.
the players aren't playing that way. Players play in the immediate. So it's important that for them as a narrative team, being able to look down the road and guide us throughout all the things that CIG wants to put into the game.
See, I think a little bit differently. I think that I want to see Senator Griffin.
No.
And
Oh my God.
The only reason I want to see Senator Griffin is so that we can eventually get dissident Griffin. Right? When you get on the inside and you see what's going on the inside, then you get to tell us, oh, it's a mess.
Yeah, Soylent Green. Soylent Green is made of people. Yeah.
Right? So those are the four major dimensions of this tension between citizen and civilian, right? You can live a life out in Pyro and never even engage on these issues, right? But if you want land, if you want commerce, if you want the franchise, you're going to have to think about being a citizen in this empire and the strengths, weaknesses, benefits, and costs of that. Hopefully folks got something out of this.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Listen, did you want to hit the questions? Let's do it. We got time. We can do it.
Okay. Well, I'll open it up to the audience. I'll open it up to you. If citizenship costs you something to earn, what would it take for you to walk away from it? What would have to happen in the UEE for you to walk away from your citizenship? So obviously I'm thinking I'm going to plan to get my citizenship, right? Whether it's finishing Squadron 42 or it is girding the Terran effort.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't lived on Terra yet. And Daka says one of the things I'm thinking about. I haven't lived on Terra yet. I haven't paid taxes in the Empire yet. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You might set up your base building in Terra, and then that first tax bill hit, and you might disassemble and take all your resources and head over to Pyro 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about you? What would it take for you to walk away from your citizenship?
See, I've never wanted citizenship. I've always figured I'd be a civilian. I wanted to be an industrialist. And other than playing Squadron for the sake of playing it, I had no desire of coming out and being in the military or anything. So I always consider myself a freelancer. I would live in space that wasn't occupied or someplace not occupied by the UEE. I might rent an apartment somewhere, but
right.
Yeah, I consider myself being a civilian in this game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then there's other questions that aren't answered yet by the lore, but that the lore stirred in me, right? That I would throw out to this community for their thoughts, and particularly the chat, right? Are children of citizens born citizens? Right? Does everyone start civilian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good question.
Should the right to vote be something every generation has to re-earn from scratch, or something you're owed by birth because you are born of a citizen? What if one of your parents is a citizen and one of your parents is a civilian?
Yeah.
Right?
Jade, that's funny. There's no birthright citizenship.
They didn't get no 14th Amendment, huh? But that's a good add to the lore.
Okay.
That's a good add to the lore.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know.
Okay.
No birthright citizenship. So
then that answers it. You got to earn it.
Your mom's a citizen. Your dad's a citizen. You're born a civilian.
Mm-hmm. You got to earn it.
And you got to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
And then the other one is, and I wanted to compare and contrast Star Citizen with some other franchises we know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Does the UEE want everyone to become a citizen, or does it depend on some percentage, maybe most people never becoming a citizen? Right. A military that fights, quote, for their fellow civilians needs civilians to exist as a category. It can't be that everybody ascends to citizen, right? Quote unquote. Is a society healthier when most people are enfranchised, or does someone always have to stay in the stands? And how do we compare that with some of the other franchises that we've engaged with, right? Is there a two-tiered second class system in Trek, Battlestar Galactica? We know in the Expanse, right? There's inners and belters, right? Babylon 5. And how do we feel like Star Citizen's framework stands up against these other franchises?
That's a really good question.
Like in Star Wars, was everybody a citizen of the Empire?
No, not by any means. I mean, well, if you weren't a part of the rebellion.
Right.
Actually, no, there were worlds that were not completely under the Empire, that were neutral worlds that the Empire just didn't mess with because they didn't find any value in them.
It's not a citizen in that universe. It's a subject. Right?
Yeah, right. Well, I'm just saying the Empire wasn't over them. They weren't part of the rebellion either. They just were worlds that the Empire just had not gotten to yet, or whatever, for whatever reason. I want to go back to something you said a second ago about who wins in those scenarios. If people are active in citizenship, that moves power toward the citizenship, right? But if people are not active and very minimal, right, or minimalized, or if citizenship doesn't seem to have value to people, then power remains with the few, right, the smaller, whoever is. So it's interesting to look at what is the pro and con to both of those. In a benevolent with a benevolent leadership, then obviously not being a citizen is not a big deal. In a structure or system, well, humanity usually defaults toward the more negative than the positive. So that's why you do have people become a part of the process. So yeah, it's interesting either way, and you've got examples in history in both directions, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what would be better.
Well,
I
it
think
feels
that,
like Trek. It feels like Trek, for example, is the most utopian, right?
oh, absolutely, because in Trek,
But that
everybody's gotten
utopia
past themselves.
It came after global nuclear war.
Yeah, right. Yeah, to be pushed to the very edge of almost annihilation. Yeah,
Almost
exactly. We
annihilation,
woke up.
right?
Yeah. We didn't go there by choice per se. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Square 2, you're the first of our questions. I don't know if we have any more in the Q&A, but I'll take this as one. Square 2 says, does citizenship still come with Squadron 42 completion? Well, we know Fast Cart's going to be able to ask that question in October.
Yeah.
When Fast Cart arrives in Manchester, Griff and I both have been invited as well. We're trying to go. We'll see if we can go. we both have a lot of elder care and a lot of other stuff to spend money on. So
yes, a lot of elder care.
But we don't know at this time, and we hope to find out more in October. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have any other questions, but we did have a response to your poll earlier, and this was would you purchase the Jump Point Prestige volume? And 70% of the folks chimed in and said yes. 20% said maybe, and only 10% that said no. So there you go. It
so I will
like
take that. If I end up in Manchester, I will take that to CIG and say,
yeah,
this tells me that 70% of the entire community.
Yeah.
I will make that. I will make that illogical leap. I will say that 70% of the entire community would support this, and hopefully they can bring it back. So thank you all for participating in that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this topic. This was pretty cool. There's some stuff I knew and some stuff I didn't know. And the story of Charon, I know about the planet, but I didn't know all that stuff was going on with the prisons. So it's been a long time since I've seen Lore Makers anyway. But even then, I still didn't remember it. So that was very, very interesting to see the prison planet thing. Okay, well, I think that is it for today. We do want to talk about what we have coming up on next week. Next Sunday, we are going to be returning to our series on Shipyard, the Shipyard series. And as you guys know, our first one was on what was the first one on? The
Bengal.
The Bengal. Yeah, the Bengal carrier. Yeah, we did the Bengal carrier first. And you know what I didn't we did mention it. Well, that's another subject. I want to get back on the Bengal. But anyway, the next one is on the newest of the large fleet ships, and that is the Anvil Odin. And so next week, I know that Captain Jones is going to be on. I know Sirius has been interested in this ship very much. I think Fast Cart's going to be on. So this will be next week when we're here on Sunday. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that show, because it should be really, really great conversation. And I think the Odin is still fresh in a lot of people's minds. This won't be a refresher. This will be more of a deep dive that we didn't do when the ship was announced. So we'll get to share our thoughts and feelings about it, because we kind of said we would reserve our conversations for this show because we knew it was coming up. Let's see. Other than that, we do want to remind you again about Star Jump Grimm's event. That is coming up and on September 12th. So those of you who might be interested, check out his website once again. And we think that would be a great place to get together with some Star Citizen people. By the way, yesterday's Sirius, I got a chance to go to, and I know we're running late, gang, so forgive me for...
tell us more about this.
Forgive me for getting this last minute thought in. But I do want to tell you that yesterday was the Chicago Bar Citizen that was a part of Bar Citizen International. And some of the folks that helped put this together, Adventure Bear, Maiden Ariana, Lord. The DJ. Name just flew out of my head that quick. That drives me crazy. Oh God, what's the DJ's name? Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos.
Oh, Papadopoulos. Yeah.
Was there. And they did a outstanding job. I think we did this before. The biggest we ever had was 175 people that came out. And yesterday, from my understanding, when I got there, the guys at the door told me that they had 198 people that were there. And so this was on yesterday. We were in Mount Prospect. You know, a lot of times people say Chicago. Yeah, you got to know how Chicago is. People say, oh, I'm from Chicago. They don't be from Chicago. They be from some suburb 15 miles away. But people just in general say Chicago, right? Schaumburg, yeah, or Evanston or Skokie. But this was in Mount Prospect, which is a nearby suburb. It's like a 25-minute drive to get there. But anyway, some of the folks that were there, Rasta Sands back there in the back, the author, one of the guys who's written some Star Citizen fiction was back there. And of course, I'm there. There's Dan. Remember Dan, the producer of Sirius? He was the guy to interview us when we were in LA. Dan was there from CIG, one of the producers. That's Ops Chief right there in the forefront, taking the photo, one of our mods. And then let's see, what else do we have here? I only got a few. Okay, there's Rastasan again. And lo and behold, one of our old Stole Citizen team members was there. Dark Knight 75. He was there. It was so good to see him. He looked good. He looked healthy. He was happy, telling us that his son is graduating. And he says, I'm a free man. I got my kid out of school now. So he says he's planning on coming back and participating in Star Citizen again. So he's looking forward to doing that. It was really good to see him on yesterday. Let's see, is those only 2 pictures? Oh, you know what? That's because I'm alternating between 2 photos. Let me see if I can get another one to come up for you guys. Again, there's Aztec Sun over there, again with Dan. It's another set of photos that we took. There was a guy who, this is what is the grand winning of the night. I don't remember the gentleman's name who did this. Oh my God, somebody hit us with something. Thank you. I don't know who that was who gave us bits, but I'll see it in a second. Thank you so much. That helmet that you guys see there is a Ninetales helmet. I can't remember the name of the model. I know a lot of you guys keep track of that. I can't remember it. But this was a working helmet. It had the flashlight on the side and everything. It lit up. It had one-way glass in it, you know, polarized glass for the eyes, cushions inside. It was designed by the guy who in Hollywood who made the Tesseract, and he's done Ahsoka's lightsabers and a whole bunch of other stuff. And this guy's a Star Wars fan. I mean, Star Citizen fan. And so he donated this for the evening, and this is the guy who put it on because he's trying it out. There's Papadopoulos in the back there to the left of him, or to the right of him. But anyway, this was really, really cool as one of the prizes that was given that night. There was also some people who did some wonderful they had over like 70 giveaway items there last night. So there was a lot of stuff they gave away. CIG gave out like 16 or 17 ships, I think, and then the community came forth and gave out a lot of stuff. I even gave up some stuff from us there for the thing too. So there was a lot of community stuff that was contributed to this thing. But it was a really, really good turnout last night. So that was my whole point, was that there was a really great group of folks who showed up last night at this event. So we just want to tell them congratulations. They did a outstanding job at that event on yesterday. So if you guys have never gone to a Bar Citizen, go. You will thoroughly enjoy yourself. It was hot, but it was great. We had a great time. Okay.
Powerful.
Yeah. Other than that, Sirius, again, thank you so much for the hard work, the research, and the instructions, informing us, keeping us informed in our community. And for those of you who, again, let me see, who was that who just donated to us? Because I want to acknowledge that.
It was the Evil Tactics.
Evil. Hey, Evil. Yeah, Evil was there last night. Evil, thank you so much. Thank you. Evil was there attending last night. So it's good to see you again, buddy. We want to get ready to set up our raid. We know we went over tonight. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you for hanging out with us. We're going to send you all over to Maiden Ariana, who is on right now. And she is flying around. She says she's sleepy. I know she's tired from yesterday, but she is doing a giveaway for a Gray's Market Basher package. So when you guys get over there, yes, go sign up. Let her know that you came over. Tell her to stay awake while she's flying, because she's flying the Basher, right? right now. And hopefully we'll see you guys on next Sunday. So thank you again. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and as always, we tell you guys peace, love, and soul. See you soon. Ciao.